now we're all remotely, so I should do the Pledge of Allegiance, right?
Or we can skip it.
I'm sorry?
We do have a flag image that we can show.
Okay.
Or skip the Pledge of Allegiance for this meeting.
I have no problem doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I just want to, if we have a flag, that'd be great.
Sorry, I don't have one on hand.
Okay, well, I see it in the background of Jimmy's. I'm going to pledge the allegiance to Jimmy's flag.
There we go.
Okay. All right. I'll lead us in the flag salute. Please mute your mics for the flag salute. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, the secretary can call the roll. I'm sorry, the city clerk.
Chair Klein.
Present.
Vice Chair Andrioli.
Present.
Commissioner Baca is not present at this time. Commissioner Condon. I think you're muted. You need to unmute yourself. In the lower left corner of your screen, you should have a mute button. There we go.
Okay, good morning again.
Hi.
Present.
Commissioner Davis. We're doing he's present. Commissioner Sakova.
Here.
Davis.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I'm here.
You have a quorum.
All right.
Okay.
Do we have any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move by Davis.
Is there a second?
Will second it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Sakova to approve the agenda. I'll call the roll. Chair Klein.
Yes.
Vice Chair Andrioli.
Yes.
Commissioner Condon.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Commissioner Sakova.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Now we can take public comments from members of the audience. If you'd like to provide a public comment through Zoom, please click the raise hand button. At this time, the public is encouraged to address the commission on any matter that is within subject matter jurisdiction of the Business and Industry Commission. The public will also be given a chance to comment on matters which are posted on the posted agenda during commission deliberation on those specific matters. Is there public comments?
I do see that we have one hand raised by Marisa Olguin.
Terrific. Please state your name and business affiliation, of any, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Did we allow her to speak?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me find out who's okay. Allowed to talk. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi,
Good
Commissioner.
morning.
This is Marisa Olguin with the Vernon Chamber. I understand there may be, I think SB 1383 is still on the agenda, or maybe heard another time, but I just thought I would make a few comments about this, about the issue. SB 1383 is a large undertaking for the business community and the city, as they will be mandated to divide, divert, and account for not only solid waste, but now organic waste, and if applicable, edible food recovery. You know, the state has thrown down this large mandate to reduce waste by 20% by 2025. I'm learning a lot about this issue in terms of the organic waste, and how the city of Vernon is going to have to make changes to its solid waste program. And so we also think that this issue should be covered in the Green Vernon Commission. I think in talking with the city, it looks like that will be the location that Green Commission studies the environmental and sustainability issues. We covered this, the solid waste program in 2012, and it was largely a large effort that involved the business, labor, haulers, the city government. I think this is going to be a large undertaking that's going to take a few months. I'm not sure of what the city is saying, but they're going to have to make changes. It's going to require a large collaboration between everybody. And it's a very thorough process. It's going to involve a lot of public discussion. It's going to take some time to approach, but I'm confident that we can make a really successful program and put that in place. 10 years ago, from my understanding, our solid waste had numbers that hit 65% in the state of California. We really blew other cities out of the water. And I think it's just a matter of creating a program to have a lot more accountability and really helping the companies divert this type of waste. Some of it is already, from my understanding, getting recorded, but it's just a matter of really working together to make sure that we meet this mandate and involving some industry vendors that I believe are already kind of picking up some of this organic and waste. And then I think it's also edible food recovery that has to be mandated. So we'll learn more about this, but I just wanted to make public comments that I really believe this. Glad that if you're going to hear about this today, that's great. If not, it should go to the Green Vernon Commission as well, and welcome your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments?
I don't see any other raised hands.
Okay, we will now go to the presentations.
Item number 1 is fiscal year 2021-22 budget overview, and Finance Director Williams will present the item.
Yes, good morning, Honorable Chair and members of the Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to present an overview of the fiscal year 2021-22 operating and capital budget for all city funds. Now, this is the budget that is presented in the council workshops, and our final workshop is next Tuesday. And as we work our way through the document, because this is an overview, you'll see high-level summary tables. And what you have in the staff report are the detailed schedules, the very same. And aside from any last-minute minor changes, this is the final budget that will be brought forward for adoption. So all of the department schedules and the summaries by funds are there. And please stop me at any time with any questions. This can be interactive or just addressed at the end. So we begin with the purpose of the budget. It's not just financial, it's a strategic framework and a guide. And so you see there that the purpose of this is both short and long term. So short term, we have the management of uncertainty. It goes without saying the challenges that were presented in 2020, and the city actually fared very well. We moved quickly and we monitored very closely. And thankfully, we do seem to see an end in sight, both in the course of the pandemic as well as the economic challenges now transitioning into reopening. Long term, fiscal accountability, long-term financial stability. We mentioned their sustainability. That really is the purpose of an annual budget, is to contribute to the long-term sustainability and going concern of the city and all of this, both the city and utility operations, and of course, operational efficiency. These are the highlights of what is being presented. We, first up and most importantly, what is being presented is a structurally balanced budget. And what we mean by that is that ongoing and continuous expenditures, what it costs for baseline operations, fixed costs for both the governmental and the enterprise funds, those expenditures are matched off against ongoing and continuous revenues. That's the most basic definition of sustainability. And that's what's being presented. So it's not just balanced, but it's structurally balanced. In terms of the operating expenditures throughout city departments, they are very consistent with the fiscal year that we're closing, beginning to close in the next 2 months. So that means they were largely kept flat. There wasn't a whole lot added because we're still in a optimistic but cautious stance in terms of planning. Now, we mentioned there, the exception to this are pension costs, and we actually have a couple of slides later in the presentation where we can slow down and discuss that. This budget allows for the continued response to the state of emergency. And one significant highlight on the city expenditure side, and we'll see that shift, is the finalized transition of fire operations to the county. So first up, we have a look at general fund expenditures. And what you see here is the current fiscal year budget. So this is the adopted budget and the budgets that is in place. And right next to that, you see the proposed budget. Now, a couple of things jump out, and one is the decreased salaries, and that is primarily for the partial year, not full year, but partial year, because it wasn't, the cutover was not until October, but it was the transition of fire over to the county. We see a benefit swing, and again, that relates to pensions, and we'll discuss that later. Supplies and services, this is primarily accounted for with the city contract. So you see a shift from here to here. Now, there is a large capital project that accounts for the majority of this change in capital, and that is primarily funded by grants, as we'll see in a moment. So this are just those same highlights that we just mentioned, and we'll come back to the pension. It won't make a lot of sense without some illustrations accompanying it, but these can be there for reference later. So a look at general fund revenue, and this is where do our operating revenues come from? And the majority come from taxes. So this includes property taxes, sales and use taxes, business license is actually a tax. And then right here, this larger slice, this represents the grant revenue for capital. And then we have the smaller revenues, which are consistent with last year. So where does the money go? On the governmental side, our primary purpose for existence as a city is safety and infrastructure for the business community. And so you see here between police, fire, contract, and public works, there's the majority of your budget, and that's as it should be. That's the purpose of the city government. And now a look at the source of funding for capital expenditures. So we see that swing and the total funding of 12.3 million, but notice nearly 60% are grants. So we have a federal grant for the Atlantic Street project. Look at our enterprise funds. So I think the takeaway from this, so you have salaries and benefits that are largely addressing MOUs that are already in place. We have some notes on the next slide about some of the change in supplies and services, and a little bit more capital expenditures, which are paid for, funded by bond proceeds. And for a budget this size, that's largely flat. So we mentioned there that there's an expectation of gas is very volatile right now, as we know. So that is built into the budget. And again, there's a couple of large capital expenditures that account for the majority of that. But again, it's bond funded. So that plan is being carried out as presented to the council last year. Here's a look at revenue. No surprise, the majority of it is light and power, and then we have the other funds as well. And here, this slice represents that the proceeds from long-term debt for the capital. And again, the majority is electric revenue, and cost of sales accounts for the majority of the expenditures. And a look at funding for capital expenditures. So you can see here the vast majority are bond proceeds, and that is progressing as planned. So here is a look at all city departments. And again, the majority of the changes are just MOUs that are already in place, various increases to supplies and services where necessary. We mentioned there earlier the pension costs, and that accounts for the majority of what you see in public safety. The change here in public works is the capital expenditure, the major project that we mentioned, and the same for BPU. Now, this is a conversation that a discussion that we've begun with the City Council because of the escalated costs, and trying to explain some of what is going on with the pension costs. So the first is, how is a pension paid for? So there's three major components, or one minor component, two major components. So one is the member cost. So wherever possible, as part of our negotiations, the goal is to increase the share on the part of us, members, recipients of this, and contributors to this system. A third of it is the employer or city cost. And then the majority of it is funded by investment earnings. And this is where the challenge comes in, because we have more than 10 years of low interest rates historically, and now pretty much all-time low in spite of the last week or so and the inflationary concerns, but we are still at very historic lows. That creates tremendous headwinds for a fixed income portfolio, which is what CalPERS is managing. So here's a bit of explanation of these escalated costs. In years past, and this didn't happen yesterday, it didn't happen last year, we're talking 10, 15 years ago, there were strong returns in the markets. It was much easier to achieve the goals of the discount rate. That's the rate of return. And so there were less conservative investments, and consequently, this tolerance for risk increased system vulnerability. And then we will remember the great crash of 2008 and the recession that followed. And at that point in time, it was the most significant event since the Great Depression, and CalPERS experienced a significant decrease in its portfolio, double-digit decrease. So CalPERS had to respond. So they rightly transitioned to this de-risking activity, but whenever you de-risk, you reduce your fixed income earnings. They changed their methodology for note their amortization. So we have an accumulated unfunded liability, and that's the equivalent of debt, long-term debt. It's not identical, but it's the best analogy we have. And what CalPERS has done for all member cities, counties, special districts, is that we're put on for the city where we have several different plans, but for instance, one plan is put on a 22-year amortization. And of course, it's great you put a debt on a shorter amortization, but that escalates the service of debt required for that to be eliminated. And another variable is just that in spite of recent events, overall, we are living longer, and that puts a strain on a pension system. So we, in summary, what you have is an assumed rate of return that has been ever decreasing. The CalPERS system, they have had to do this, and now we're all the way down to a 7%. That discount rate is the assumed rate of return. Whenever that is reduced, the costs are pushed down to cities. So so what we have is an unfunded liability that has to be addressed, and we are in what is known as a ramp-up period. This is over 5 years, and it's expected to level. But nevertheless, it is an ongoing challenge. And we have some near-term activity addressing this, but we also have the reason this is being brought forward is at the direction of the city administrator, we are coming up with some recommendations and strategies to address this. And in the short term, this is a look at just the fire plan. So the public safety each has a separate plan, as does the non-safety employees in the city. And this is a look at the pension costs. So we were on this trajectory so these paired bars represent the transition to county, or had we kept operations here at the city. And these costs are pulled from the CalPERS schedules that they provide us. So you can see the difference in capacity. It is significant, but yet we still see escalating costs that have to be addressed. But it just, this really underscores that decision to transition over to county, and that it was in fact the right decision. So in conclusion, structurally balanced budget, largely flat expenditures year over year. This budget provides for the high level of service delivery to the city's business community as well as its residents, and allows us to continue this response and hopefully wind down activities related to the state of emergency sometime next year. And this is the timeline. So the final workshop will be May 18th on Tuesday. At the following meeting, we will have the public hearing for the appropriations limit, and as well as adoption of all these schedules. And this this budget will go into effect on July 1, the beginning of the new fiscal year. So that concludes our presentation, and we are available for any questions or comments.
Hey, Scott, this is Jack Klein. I had a question. You described that we have this 22-year amortized debt that we are required of the pension. Did that show up in any of the numbers that you presented, or that's just you clearly understand? You did a very good job of explaining why we have the problem. But where in our budget are we addressing that problem?
Okay, so where you see it is right here in benefits. That impact right there. And that's just on the general fund. So you're seeing this is an aggregate of all benefits or fringe, and so you're seeing a swing. Our medical benefits really didn't go up year over year. So this is where it shows up in terms of where it is being addressed is right here below it. So, and that's that transition to fire. So in the near term, let me get back to the fire, because this is significant. The difference between these paired bars represents capacity. So we knew this is where we were headed. Now, the long-term schedules, the amortization schedules, these can and will be presented later. They reside in the specific CalPERS reports. So we have six different well, actually more than that. There's a couple of legacy plans, but in terms of major plans, there's 6 different plans in the city. And one way that this is being dealt with is the Pension Reform Act of 2012, and it's known as PEPRA. That law was put into place, so all employees that are not part of the classic, they call it, are part of that plan, and it is a lesser cost to the city because it's a lesser benefit. So where we see this is in the population shift from the classic to PEPRA. So virtually almost, unless someone is coming from of a more senior level position from another agency, just about every new hire, so for instance, in public safety, and that's a big one, are going to be PEPRA employees. Now, that's a long-term solution, but we have to get through the next 20 years. And those are the very specific recommendations that are going to come forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jack, I've got a comment. I've got my hand up here. I don't know how to turn it off.
There you go.
Turn it off. From a 50,000-foot view, the budget is looking really good, and I think the staff ought to be commended for really taking a look at the major elements of it and addressing it as a percentage of controllable costs. I think you're doing a really, really good job. I think the uncontrollable costs are where the efforts would likely be made if you had the opportunity to know what those uncontrollable costs are. And in the lifespan of the pension plans, those are just unknowns. But I think for the next week, and I think if you're going to come up with numbers and forecasts, etc., it's going to be very difficult to forecast what the returns are going to be and what your delta is that the city's going to have to come up with to meet the gap of what CalPERS is underperforming. And Scott, I would ask, do you have any idea of what that proposed or what that calculated delta is over the course of the next 5 years, looking short term?
We mentioned risking, de-risking, and the problem is And we know, again, that's all we heard this week was inflationary concerns, and they're real. But part of that is just a pent up economy because we've been closed and so forth. But we are still at such low rates of return. It's forcing pension plans into risking activities. And so, do I think 7% is realistic? No, I just don't. But that is not the position of the city. That's my opinion at this present time, just what we know and what we've seen historically. But we speak, finance staff and myself, we regularly have discussions with actuaries, with our actual CalPERS actuary, and they don't sound terribly optimistic as well that they can hit those targets. It's just very, very difficult to do. However, I don't want to paint a picture of that this can't be resolved. It's challenging, but it very much can be resolved. And part of the reason for that is I mentioned earlier that this is the analogy of debt, long-term debt, like a mortgage, but it's not a mortgage because a mortgage or a bond is fixed. And so we know what the interest costs are to pay that back. A pension is a moving target. So it fluctuates based on those rates of return. And there have been years where CalPERS has, I mean, look at the capital market this last year, it's crazy. So they have years where they exceed expectations, but then they have some very, very volatile years. The other is the population, meaning the annuitants. And whenever someone, it's not a fun topic, but it is part of a pension. It's there for annuitants and until they pass away, and so that has an impact. We noted that we're living longer, but all of that's not, we don't know when that event is. So that is going to, that's a changing variable as well. So one of the things that we've seen cities do, that we're taking a careful look at is you hear a lot of cities issuing pension obligation bonds, and because rates are at historic lows, but that anything like that has to be thoroughly vetted and evaluated and studied, frankly, to see if do we do better over the next 20 years in an event if we address it with a financial vehicle like that versus trying to just service these escalating debts, which are or escalating unfunded liability costs, which are significant.
Well, it seems to me, and just looking at this from the perspective that I saw presented, is that the delta between what CalPERS is projecting and what Vernon's participation is growing, and I think a 7% return is fantasy. Those people that I talk to who are RIAs and other pension professionals, and for us, ourselves who are dealing with our own individual pension plans or investment portfolios, I would say that Vernon has to pick a number, peg it, and say that this is the delta that we've got to fund. And if you're going to finance the fund through a bond, that's one way to do it. The other is to also dial into this, and I'm not speaking just to speak, but the impending tax liability that's going to affect your specific constituents in Vernon as it relates to taxes, as it relates to other earnings that are coming down the pike, based on what I see coming forward. Those are going to affect revenues to the city as well. And I think a prudent approach would be to peg a number and dial that into the budget and make it large, because it's going to be large, so that decisions can be made with regard to what to do and what not to do as it relates to continuing spending. I can tell you from my perspective, because I was involved with it a lot, the transference and the outsourcing to the county of the Vernon Fire Department was probably one of the most brilliant decisions ever made. You see the differentials that's happening. And there could be other things that the city has to do with regard to outsourcing, those non-core functions that have duplication that could have impact to strengthen up the overall budget of the city for the next 15, 20 years. So it's not a juggling act. You know, you're going to be alive as a city for the next 20 years, and the city is going to be changing, and the population is going to be changing, and the operating businesses in the city are going to be changing as well. But the overall impact of revenue and expense to the city, I think right now it looks like you're doing a very, very conservative job, and I would applaud it. But I think you got to dial in many millions of dollars in terms of gap coverage that may not be in there now. I think that would be my point.
And it's a point well taken, and that's what we're meaning by bringing forward some recommendations. All of these elements that you mentioned are related. Very much the going concern of the city is how is this going to impact available resources? And of course, those available resources are derived from the business community primarily. And when we bring forward recommendations, it's going to be with full transparency, and but it's going to take some rigorous analysis, and this isn't going to take months and months and months. It's just going to take a few weeks to bring something forward that with full transparency, this is what it's going to take. And then from there, we open that discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I mean, that's what all of us on this call are doing in our own businesses. You know, you don't have to read too many tea leaves to realize what's going to be happening over the next 5 years in terms of taxation. And we're all dialing it in, and I think the city has to do the same thing.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Scott? Okay. So Lisa, we're going to have another presentation?
Yes. Item number 2 is City of Vernon COVID-19 Vaccine Administration Program Update, and Health and Environmental Control Director Agent will present the item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Freddie.
Good morning, directors and commissioners. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, but we can't see anybody's face.
Oh, you can't see my face?
No, in the picture, everybody's covered with masks. It's
Oh.
a joke. It's a joke.
Thank you, Doug. That was a good one. I'm like, I took my mask off. And I'm in my office, and I'm vaccinated, so I cover all of that. I can take them off. Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to present to you and give you an update of what the COVID vaccination program that the city undertook and we continue to do. We just want to kind of let you know what is happening and kind of give a background how we actually got involved with this whole vaccination program. So just a little background on how we started this. I I think sometime around last year in May, I want to say, when really we are at the peak of the pandemic, USC Keck Medicine professor, a doctor reached out to us and said, hey, I have a study coming up about the COVID vaccine, working with the NIH, which is the National Institute of Health. And we thought, Vernon would be a great site because, you guys have a lot of essential employees that has been working through this throughout the pandemic, and they've been very impacted. So we want to know if we can set up a site in Vernon. And through city administrator, we jump on it right away and say, sure, we will do whatever we can to help out with that effort to get that going. So we agree, we will work with them to make it happen. We identify a location at City Hall where they can set up. And then, as many of you may recall, because what they were going to be doing was that the study was about AstraZeneca vaccine. And we all, they had an issue with the vaccine and in Europe. So it kind of delayed the whole process. And then throughout the delay, USC kind of moved on. So the actual trial on Vernon site never happened. So you fast forwarded a little bit to around November, October, when the FDA was looking at approving a vaccine for COVID. And we kind of huddled together again and say, hey, we have opportunity here with the Pfizer vaccine that's going to be approved because it needs such a unique storage requirement, which was having a refrigerator or freezer that can maintain at least minus 70, minus 80 degrees. And as luck may have it, we have one at City Hall because of the trial that we were going to be done in City of Vernon. So we immediately reach out to the county and anyone that will listen to us and say, hey, we have this unique freezer, we have a trailer, and the way we were looking at it in Vernon, it was best actually taking the vaccine to businesses instead of people actually going out to a vaccination site like the Dodger Stadium, places like that, because we know it's critical that we get to our businesses in Vernon. So when that Pfizer vaccine was approved, we got in line right away, requesting that we get a vaccine in Vernon so we can do that. Also, as we require, I mean, if you remember now, vaccine is very available, but back then we have to go through these phases. So it was really a big undertaking trying to have the county and the state allocate vaccine to us to do our essential businesses. So on the picture that you see on the screen was the setup for the trailer that we have. And actually this is our minus 80 degree freezer that we keep our vaccines in right now. So as I mentioned, our point that we made to the elected officials and the county and the state was, Vernon is very unique. We have businesses here that has been throughout this whole pandemic, has been open, helping the county, the state, county, and the country get back on its feet. So we thought it was a great idea to bring the vaccine to the businesses instead of the other way around. So again, showing some of the pictures, where we went to actually do a mobile vaccination. So, so what we did then was to actually get a mobile van, and we ended up getting 2 of them, which basically we outfitted it with a pharmaceutical refrigerator and a place that you can actually prep the vaccine while you're on site. Because as you are, if you are aware of the vaccine, temperature control is really critical. There's a certain time you can keep it, and if you don't use it, you have to basically destroy it. And I'll be happy to say to date, we've been doing this, we haven't wasted one single dose of vaccine because we're very efficient when we bring it. we count the numbers where we are over there, so we're able to control it by having a van that have a refrigeration unit so it doesn't go bad. So the two van, I have it on the picture, and if you can see on the left, on the PowerPoint, one inside the van where it's outfitted with a pharmaceutical refrigerator that is used when we go out to do that event. So on this slide is our team. So what we did was as a city, we basically manage the inventory of the vaccine. We receive them, we keep them, and then we partner with Stacy Medical, which is another Vernon clinic, with Dr. Floman and his team to actually administer the vaccine when we're on site. So picture you have out there is the Stacy Medical and City of Vernon staff that goes out and get this work done. And you see one gentleman, Laney, actually in the van, prepping the vaccine at that event. So with my staff also, and the city was gracious enough to give us assistance by bringing the temporary help to help us out as we go out and do this event. So I just want to share some pictures with you with some of the places that we've been to, that we hosted an event that was, we thought it was very successful by going out there. So we were at Baker, we did an event at Papa Kenteller, Mochi Ice, Farmer John, and etc. And I showed this picture here. This was one actually was very interesting. I think when we started, there was some event where sometimes we were up there to about 9 o'clock at night, but there was one that we did that, I don't know, I've never seen that in Vernon, but it actually raining and it started hailing. For a few minutes, it was the most craziest thing, but it was all in good fun because we have our tents and stuff available, but we were able to do it. So we'll bring the vaccine to you, rain or shine, dark, whatever it is, we're there to provide that support. And then with that, once I think word got out what city was doing, we received some media attention. We actually had an LA Times writer, reporter that came and spent almost all day with us as we went out to these businesses. And then we have Supervisor Solis that I think came to an event at Smithfield. And then I think I have Carlos over here that did an interview and with one of the media. That was an event that happened at Rosen Shore. So I just want to highlight that, some of the media events that happen around these vaccines. And I also add, actually, with Vernon doing this, now you hear a lot of mobile vaccine clinics that are going out to all kinds of places, not just even in the state or the county, but I hear in the country also. And even now with the vaccine hesitancy, I think the move now is to switch and actually have a mobile unit that will go to people's houses and businesses to do that. And actually, I've been told by a couple of businesses that LA County is reaching out to them in Vernon, offering the mobile service. So we think we're glad that this caught on and people are doing it. So just want to show another slide with also not forgetting our residents. So we're able to go to residential. Even if it was 1 or 2 people, we still pull out the van to make sure that we can provide that convenient service to them also. And then as Vernon, our neighbors are also part of they're all part of us. So we've done an outreach also outside city limits, where we've been to City of Commerce, we've gone to City of Huntington Park. Last Saturday, we were at Cudahy, and we went to Boyle Heights YMCA, and we're actually going back tomorrow to finish the second dose over there. And they have also shown interest to do other YMCAs also. So just want to share that. So this is some of the locations that we've been to in other cities in this area. So I just want to kind of end up with a little bit, giving you some of the numbers, what we've done. We continue doing this. Project is still going on. But as of yesterday, we have vaccinated about 12,453 and continue. We visited 5 communities. But really the key and all this is, we want to make sure that not only we're supporting our community, but we're also supporting Vernon businesses. Since they as a city, we've been through this pandemic with businesses, and we know how hard and how impactful it was to businesses and their staff. So we think, as a city, this is one simple, small token that we can at least help assist businesses to keep the employees safe, really, and healthy, and make sure that people can get back to work full time without having to worry about. So, the vaccines are available. We still open to go into businesses. We reached out to the chamber, we reached out to groups, and that wants us to, they want an easy process where we can come out and provide that service to them. This is what the city is here for. We want to do. We've done as little as 5 employees to as much as 500 employees. And, we'll show up. If you call us, we'll make that happen. So I want to say thank you very much for allowing us to present this to you and kind of give an update what we are doing. So I will end here if you have any questions or follow up.
Hey, thank you, Freddie. I have a comment. Terrific job, great innovation. This shows how good the city of Vernon is. And observation, Carlos, you look terrific in a mask on camera.
Thank you. And disclaimer, that's not Chief Miranda. On the screen right now.
All right.
Hey, Jack, if I can, I just want to echo the comments. Freddie, thank you so much for all your work on that. Baker Commodities really appreciates it. I know the city of Vernon's businesses and residents appreciate it. So strong work, and thank you for all you did.
Thank you. This was really a collective effort. And I really want to, and Carlos, I know my review is not due yet, but we could have done this without his leadership, his support, understanding. When they started in around, I think, January, when, trust us, the county didn't even understand what we were talking about. And they keep questioning why you want to do that. And you can, Carlos was adamant and says, no, we understand Vernon, and this is what we want to do. And we know we're going to be successful. And it was through that leadership and, reaching out to elected officials that this happened. And now they're calling us, hey, can you go do an event in this place? Or can you do that? So it was really a collective effort. And I think all other departments also really did help us out, to get the van and to get staff. And so it's been a collective effort, and businesses is opening their doors for us to come in, and we're going to places that, they set up, they're helping us. And Jimmy, we are appreciative your staff helping us with setup and getting this stuff going. So thank you very much.
Nicely done.
Chair, if you'd like to go on to the next item. Yes. Item number 3.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that.
Item number 3 is Business Appreciation and Recognition Program. And Angela Kimmy from City Administration will present the item.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You see my presentation?
Not yet.
No? How about now?
Nope.
Alex, can you share your screen and show the PowerPoint that's on the shared drive?
Where's the file again?
We tested this before and it worked just.
It's on the M drive under agendas
Agendas.
and agenda packets for 2021. And
Oh,
business-
There we
okay,
go.
I see
It's
it.
working.
Now you got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Never-
right. Super. Except now it's not. Not sure what is happening. I promise you, we test these out before the meetings and.
Angela, do you
There
want
it
me to
goes.
try? Oh, there we go. Do
Yeah.
you want me to try it on my computer since you've been having issues this morning?
But I thought we had worked out those issues. Yeah, I guess we're gonna need to do something.
You gotta have Carlos get you a high-speed internet line and get off the dial-up.
So,
Thanks,
are you
Doug.
seeing my screen right now?
Yes,
Program objectives.
yes.
My slides won't even advance.
Okay, can you stop sharing your screen and I'll try to share mine?
Oh, painful. Yes.
I think you're still sharing your screen.
Okay, let me give this one more try. Now?
We can see it. It's in the presenter view, I think. We can see your, oh, we could see your screen.
Okay, so I'm not sure what's happening. You can't see my screen now, right? Because I'm no longer sharing.
No, correct.
Actually, Lisa's sharing her screen.
I'm gonna try to open it on my screen. Dun-dun-dun.
All right. Okay, so good morning, commissioners. My name is Angela Kimmy, and on behalf of the city administrator, I'll be presenting our new economic development program for business appreciation and recognition. Our goals for this program are threefold. Primarily, we want to demonstrate our appreciation to our new and existing businesses. We know you have a choice where you operate your business, and we appreciate that you choose to operate it in Vernon. We'd like to raise recognition for successful Vernon businesses and also promote the city of Vernon as a place where businesses thrive. The city works hard to create an environment where you can cultivate the longevity of your businesses. By way of background, the city of Vernon has approximately 1,800 businesses, give or take. On average, we permit about 100 new businesses a year. And I am pleased and surprised actually to say that even during a global pandemic, the city of Vernon has already permitted 71 new businesses this year. So the first element of the welcome portion of the program applies to every business. Every new business will receive a certificate of occupancy plaque to commemorate the start of their business in Vernon. They'll also receive a welcome greeting in the city administrator's report to city council, which basically highlights new and notable developments in the city. We'll also be taking out ad space in the Los Angeles Business Journal to welcome our new businesses, identifying them by name and logo. We'll be offering our new businesses a little free promotion while also highlighting the city as a dynamic place to do business. Next, oh, okay. And for any large or notable new businesses that come into the city, they'll receive a framed proclamation by the city council and maybe a ribbon cutting ceremony attended by the city council with invitations extended to our state and regional elected officials. The second element is an acknowledgement of our longevity businesses. We'll be taking out ads also in the LA Business Journal congratulating businesses on their landmark anniversaries, beginning at 20 years and recurring in like 5-year increments. The city's new website will feature a special banner to commemorate businesses of 75 years or more. I have a fun fact for you. Reliance Steel is the oldest business on record currently operating in the city at 82 years in business. Longevity businesses will also be acknowledged with streetlight flags. This will be for businesses operating over 50 years. And based on our current records, that's over 40 companies. They'll also receive proclamations for 50, 7,500 years of business. And for businesses that are interested, we will coordinate with state and county officials to issue state and county proclamations as well. So I do have one caveat on this slide. The data for longevity is based on our business license data. And so because we're talking about businesses that are over 50 years old, you know, databases change over time. There may be some glitches or gaps. Also, as a business process, when a business relocates within the city or changes their name, they're issued a new license. And so we lose that historical data. So all of this to say our database is imperfect, but we really want for businesses to reach out to us if this impacts them so that we can update our list because we're keeping a separate list just for this program. So feel free to reach out to us because we really, we don't want to leave anyone out. And for brand or notable businesses, they'll also receive streetlight like promotional flags. Featured business of the month. So this is an area we hope to expand in the future. But for now, these business of the month will be featured in the city's new website. This is still work in progress. But the website will have a front page button for business spotlight. Lisa, look away. Here is a sneak peek. Don't tell anyone you saw this. So in the bottom image there, you'll see business highlight. So that'll be on the front page of the city's new website. For businesses undertaking significant sustainability efforts, we'll be working in coordination with the Public Utilities Department. This is a recognition in support of sustainability and carbon reduction efforts. We'll be highlighting companies that undertake notable projects or are participating in one of BPU's emission reduction programs. These businesses will also receive a plaque for significant achievement in environmental sustainability, in addition to recognition in the city administrator's report to the city council and at the Green Vernon Commission. So for ongoing communications and outreach, we appreciate that the Business and Industry Commission, that you represent the collective voice of Vernon businesses. But the city wants to continue to develop a close working relationship with our businesses individually. So to that end, we have established an economic development email address. As you know, or may know, The city doesn't have dedicated staff just for economic development. As a small city, we all wear a lot of hats. We band together, roll up our sleeves, and make things happen. One of the beautiful things about Vernon. But the economic development email is a way for businesses to reach out directly to city administration with questions, concerns, suggestions for desired service improvements. It's our goal to create a forum for the city to hear from businesses about their concerns and evaluation of city services. This is what we're working towards with this, this element of the program. Oops. So that is my last slide. I'm happy to take any questions.
I think it's a great program. Seems like it's fairly low cost, and I think that there's a lot of proud business owners that would appreciate the recognition. So I think it's a great idea.
Hey, Jack, if I may ask a question. Angela, thanks for the presentation. Just curious, for businesses that have already reached some of those milestones and such, will you guys be offering them something for maybe like their latest large milestone, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to structure the program so that there are reasonable intervals, except for some kind of really intensive things like, getting proclamations from the state. So for everything else, there's like a 5-year interval. For the companies that are like, at the 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, there are quite a few in that range. If they're eager to have something done now, like the proclamation, we're happy to work with them to do that. All of the other elements will be rolling out slowly. The street flags, that applies for the businesses, not just of 50 years, but 50 years or more. So yeah, so let us know if you encounter a company that wants to do something on a slightly different interval. We're happy to entertain those.
Thanks. It's a great program. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Angela.
Apologies for the technical difficulties.
Item number 4 is implementation plan for Senate Bill 1383, short-lived Climate Pollutants Reduction Act. And Health and Environmental Control Director Agent will present the report.